Hey champion guitar players, today I show you 5 cool blues guitar licks. They're all taken from the 3rd position or the 3rd box of the minor pentatonic scale. Now the 3rd box of the pentatonic scale is a bit unusual because of how the fingering lays out specifically on strings 2 and 3. But once you get used to it, which won't take very long, soloing in this 3rd box is a lot of fun, and the licks you can create here sound great and quite different from what you might play in the 1st box. So grab your guitar, let's have some fun. All right, so here's example number 1. It begins, as I said earlier, in the 3rd box pattern of the minor pentatonic scale. So we're in B minor, so the 1st minor pentatonic scale would start here on fret number 7. Then the 2nd pattern would start on fret number 10. And now the 3rd minor pentatonic box, the one we're going to be using for this video, starts on fret number 12. Now, for example number 1, we're just going to be using the top 2 strings of this position, and we're going to add in the blues note right there. So we play it straight. That's how it's written. 16th notes, just going through and playing all the same rhythm. Now, learn that first. You don't have to play it fast. If you can play it fast, great. If you can't right now, no problem at all. Just get the hang of the notes and the rhythm and just play it straight. Then, once you can do that at a reasonable speed, medium speed, let's say, then start working on creating different variations, not by changing the notes, at least not yet, but changing the rhythm. So you might use rubato, where you gradually slow down and gradually speed up, or you might stop and hold certain notes out longer than others, hit them harder, add harder accents, add vibrato, do whatever you want. So here's a couple of examples I'll just make up right now. So there, when I got to the 14th fret on the high E string, I stopped, held it out, little vibrato. We could have done that on any note. So I'm just playing with the rhythm here a little bit. Now again, you can change the notes if you want to, but before you do that, just vary the timing, the articulation, and the phrasing of what you see. Here's example number 2. One more time. So what makes this sound cool, at least in my opinion, is the transition from the 1st note to the 2nd note. So when I play the 1st note, which is fret 15 on string number 2, I'm hitting that note, bending up a full step, and then I'm taking my hand up away from the guitar. Normally you wouldn't do that, it's kind of risky. But away from the guitar, because I want to come down with a lot of power, a lot of force on the 2nd note. Okay, I'm not raising my hand up because I think it looks cool or anything silly like that. I'm just really just trying to pound that note, and it feels good to do that. So you just have to be a little careful that if you're going to do that, if you're going to lift your hand up, that when it comes down, that you've got all the other strings, the ones that you're not intending to pick, you've got them quiet. Okay, now what I do when I bring my hand down, when my pick goes to string 2, my thumb is muting strings 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the back of this, the thumb of this hand, I should say. And then the back of this finger is muting string 1. Okay, so string 1 is just being muted by the back of my hand here. And that's how I'm able to hit, the guitar pretty hard and not make an error of hitting string 4 or string 1 or whatever, okay? So after we've got those 2 notes, then we've got this little, I'm sliding into fret 14, and then sliding down to fret 11. Now in the notation, it doesn't say to slide into 14. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. I just naturally slide into the 14th fret. But I really like the sound of the final note sliding into it. So it's not just this, which is, I guess, kind of cool. But with the slides, I think it just adds a lot more to the phrasing, particularly sliding down to the last note. Now, some people ask, well, am I starting to slide from? Am I sliding from the 16th fret down to 11 or the 19th fret? It doesn't matter. I'm just sliding from wherever, okay? If I play this lick 10 times in a row, I could be sliding from 10 different spots. I have no idea where I'm starting from. And it doesn't really matter because what we're hearing is the movement of the slide. We're not really hearing the starting point of the slide because we're not staying on any particular note long enough for that to really be perceived by people who don't have like really incredible ears who could really pinpoint where that's at. So don't worry about where you slide it from, as long as you end up on the 11th fret each time. Now, one thing that will help you to get that slide, take your eyeballs, stare at that fret the whole time, okay? So don't watch your hand up here and say, okay, I'm going to bring my hand up here, I'm going to watch where I'm starting, and then I'm going to follow with my eyes, my finger from here to here. If you do that, there's a very high probability you're going to land on the wrong note. You won't end up on the 11th fret. You might end up on the 10th fret, the 12th fret, the 13th. You'll end up somewhere, but it may not be the 11th fret. So by staring at the fret you want to slide down to, you dramatically increase the probability that you're going to land on the right note. If you're looking anywhere else, the chance of making a mistake is pretty high. Now, before we go any further, I've got another video on YouTube you might want to check out. It's called Phrasing Guitar Lesson, How to Improve Your Phrasing. And the concepts in that video I'm using here in this video, but I'm not going through all the explanations in this one. So if you want that deeper understanding of some of those phrasing concepts, check out that other video. All right, now let's take a look at example number 3. I'll play it for you in a couple different ways. First, I'll play it basically as it's written, or pretty close to that. And then the second way that I'll show you is a little bit cooler, a little bit more sophisticated, just sounds a little bit better in my opinion. We'll see if you agree. So here's the straight way. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool lick. It's not great in my opinion, at least not yet, but it's sort of okay. But that's the basis for what we're going to do. Now, the second way to play this, a little bit more advanced way, is we're going to take the first note of the first 3 measures, and we're going to bend that note just a little bit, not a full step, not even a half step, maybe a quarter or a third of a step, but definitely less than a half step, okay? So here's what we're going to do. So did you hear what I did there? I played the 15th fret, and it was a very slow bend up, okay? Very slow. In fact, I'm hardly bending at all in the beginning, and then right towards the end, it goes up a little, and then I do the slide, okay? Check it out. All right. Now, if you want to play it the way that I just did, there's something important you need to pay attention to, and that is this. When I play the first note, I'm not bending yet. I'm playing the note. I'm very slowly and gradually bending up. And right at the end, I'm bending up a little more. Now, that bend, in order to sound the way I was doing it, you've got to integrate the bend with the slide. What does that mean? That means the following. When we do this, we want to slide from the note being bent. We don't want to release the bend back down yet, okay? Don't do that. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to do it the way I was doing it, don't release the bend yet. So from here, from this point, we're going to do a slide now. But once you reach the 12th fret, the string is no longer bent, okay? So 15th fret, you bend up, then you slide from here to the 12th fret. But by the time you reach the 12th fret, the 12th fret can't be, that string can't be bent yet, all right? So we are releasing the string bend during the slide, not before the slide, not after the slide, during the slide, okay? Now again, you can do it any way you want. If you want to release the bend after the slide, before the slide, great. If you think that sounds better, awesome. Do it your way. No problem at all. But if you want to do it the way I was showing you before, you release the bend during the slide, okay? And that's the same thing for measure 2. Okay? The string is released during the slide, and then once I get to the 11th fret, then I start applying vibrato. And you might be confused. Some people might be confused by that and think, well, wait a minute. I just watched you, and when you got to the 11th fret, you were bending the string. Well, I was doing vibrato. That's not quite the same as a string bend, okay? With vibrato, I'm bending the string and releasing it all the way back down, then bending it again all the way back down. I did not continue the bend from the 14th fret to the 11th fret. The string was released by the time I get to fret 11, and then we apply the vibrato on fret 11 once we get there. But the string is completely released at the start of fret number 11. All right, the next example I'm going to show you requires a pretty good amount of speed. So, because you can use this to build speed, it's a great exercise for this, but it also just really sounds cool. Now, before we get into the next example, it's really important that your hands are very warmed up, okay? Because we're going to push your hands, to its limit, all right? Or at least to a pretty significant level. So make sure you're warmed up first. And I've got another video on YouTube called Guitar Warm-Up Exercises Step-by-Step Tutorial. And that video is invaluable, not only for showing you how to warm up your hands in a really good way, but it also goes into detail about how many guitar warm-up exercises, although they may be effective at warming up your hands, they waste a lot of your practice time. And we don't want guitar warm-up exercises to waste practice time. We want them to add to the productivity of the time you spend practicing. And there's a critical difference between those two things. So go check out that video if you want to learn more about that. All right, so now we're getting into example number 4, and we're going to be going between strings 2 and 3. I'm using fingers 3 and 4 here, 4th finger here, 3rd finger here, 1st finger down here. You could use fingers 1, 2, and 3 if you prefer. You could do it this way. Whatever you want to do. I like fingers 3 and 4. A lot of players, especially a lot of blues players and some rock players, would use fingers 2 and 3 here. That's totally cool too. So this is a very simple pattern. It's basically just 4 notes. That's really all it is. And then we do this part twice. So the pattern is basically like this. There's a group of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's 2 groups of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the whole thing repeats. A group of 4, and then 2 groups of 6. Cool. So you could pick all the notes. You can use pull-offs. I think I was just doing pull-offs just now. You could do it either way. You could pull off from the 15th fret to the 12th fret, but this is a really nice one to build some speed. It's also a cool lick. You can get the speed up pretty easily. It's not really that hard at all, and you can learn to shred with this and have a lot of fun when you want to play something fast using the minor pentatonic scale in the 3rd box position. All right, so for example number 5, we've got a couple of backslide chains. A backslide chain is just simply my term. It's not my technique. I didn't invent the technique or anything, but I created the term to describe what we're doing. So let's define what a backslide is in case you don't know. When I use the term backslide, I don't mean a descending slide. So some people will call this a backslide because you're sliding back down the guitar. I just call that what it is, a descending slide. So when I use the term backslide, it means there's actually 2 slides. You've got a note, you slide away from that note, up or down, it doesn't matter, and then you come right back to where you started. So you're sliding away and sliding right back. That's called a backslide. Okay, so we've got one of those right in the beginning. Okay, so you're sliding from the 14th fret to 16, and immediately back, hence the name backslide, back to the 14th fret. Then, got a little vibrato there. Then we've got another backslide, 12th fret, slide up to the 14th fret, and right back to the 12th fret. Again, a backslide. Little vibrato there at the end. And then we've got a descending scale run in our third box pattern of our minor pentatonic scale. Okay, so the frets are real easy. It's 14 and 12. Now you'll see that I'm using palm muting for strings 5 and 6. You don't have to, but it sounds pretty cool, a little bit more aggressive. So I'm not applying palm muting on the final note, even though it's on string 5, because that note we want to accent, right? So all together. It sounds pretty cool, pretty aggressive. One thing that I did differently than what you're seeing in the tablature and the notation is I extended and held out the first note of the second measure. So as it's written, it would be this way. But I actually do this. Play that first note of measure 2, add vibrato maybe, and then finish the lick. It's just a different way to have a different phrasing, a different feel. I like that feel better. You might like it just played straight, and that's cool too. Now let's talk about what would you do or how would you practice creating or improvising or writing licks and phrases in the minor pentatonic scale using box number 3. Well, in the 5 cool blues guitar licks that I showed you using the minor pentatonic scale in the 3rd position, I'm basically just improvising here and then just wrote out the tablature just to show you here. But the thing is, on the lower strings, strings 4, 5, and 6, the box pattern is real simple because it's frets 12 and 14 on the bottom 3 strings. Right? Pretty easy. Then we've got in string 3, we've got frets 11 and 14. If I'm using fingers 1 and 3, you could use 1 and 4. And then we shift this up to the 2nd string, frets 12 and 15. And then on the high E string, 12 and 14. If you wanted to add the blues note, it'd be right here with the middle finger, fret 13. It's a lot of fun. A lot of players will play a lot of licks in the first minor pentatonic box, and that's cool. There's a lot of great stuff that you can create there. But then what happens is a lot of players, they kind of get stuck in that little box. Not that there's anything wrong with that box. It's super awesome. But we want to be able to use the whole guitar, right? I mean, your favorite guitar players probably use the whole guitar. Depends on who your favorite player is. But most of them do. Right? So that's what we want to try and do too, is create licks in every single box pattern and then connect those box patterns and play licks laterally or diagonally across the guitar. That would be the way to approach this once you are very familiar with the 3rd position of the minor pentatonic scale. Now this video was created by request. One of you wanted me to create a video on pentatonic licks in the 3rd box pattern. It took me a while to get to it, but I finally did, and here it is. Hope you enjoyed this video. Now, if you like my videos on YouTube, you're going to love my personalized breakthrough guitar lessons. I'm going to show you exactly how to transform your guitar playing from being just okay to being really awesome, even if you're feeling stuck right now or you're having self-doubts about your ability to play or progress or make improvements, etc. Just imagine how much better your guitar playing will become and how much easier it will feel when you know exactly what to do, exactly how to practice, and you have the guidance and roadmap to get you there. Now, I've done this for thousands of my students over the years, but here's the thing. If you're willing to do the work, because there is real practice involved, if you're willing to do the work, if you're going to practice at least 30 minutes a day on the lessons that I give you, okay? Follow the things that I teach you to do. If you will do that, I'm absolutely certain I can help you become the guitar player that you want to be. Now, unlike other lessons on the internet that you may find, you're not going to get a generic cookie cutter course from me where everybody gets the same lesson number one, everybody gets the same lesson number two. Those kind of courses are kind of okay. There are some good ones out there. There's some not so good ones out there too. But I think what you probably want and can use more are lessons that are customized to you, to who you are, what your goals are, what your challenges are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your learning style, experience, frustrations, and most importantly, who you want to become, not who somebody else wants to be, right? So check out my breakthrough guitar lessons at tomhess.net/guitar and see if they're right for you. I'll see you on the other side.